You won't believe what happened when this HOA Karen tried to drag me into a lawsuit over something that wasn't even real. It all started when I got a letter out of nowhere. She claimed I was part of her HOA and demanded I pay fees or face legal action. The thing is, I don't even live in her neighborhood, let alone belong to her HOA. But Karen wasn't having any of it. She was ready to take it to court and make a big deal out of nothing. At first, I thought it was just another annoying mix-up, but things quickly escalated. This wasn't your typical HOA complaint or a simple disagreement about yard rules. Karen was aggressively pushing this case, acting like she had all the power. I had no idea what kind of trouble I was walking into, but I knew I had to stand my ground. I started digging into her HOA's documents, trying to understand how she could even claim I was a member. What I found shocked me. The whole HOA was barely a thing, with major legal flaws. When the day came to face the judge, I expected a long, stressful battle. But what happened in that courtroom was something I never saw coming. The judge didn't just dismiss the case quietly. She dissolved the entire HOA on the spot. Imagine that. A whole HOA wiped out in minutes because of how poorly it was set up. But here's the catch. Just when I thought it was over, things took a strange turn that left me questioning what this Karen might do next. There's more to this story than just a lawsuit and a dissolved HOA. Stick around, because you won't want to miss what happened after the judge's surprising decision. This is one HOA drama you have to hear to believe. Before all this courtroom drama, things seemed pretty normal, or at least as normal as they can be when you're dealing with a Karen in an HOA. Karen had been known around the neighborhood as the kind of person who always wanted control. She was the president of the HOA board, but it felt like she was running it more like her personal kingdom than a community group. She'd complain about everything from lawn decorations to parking spots and was quick to threaten anyone who didn't fall in line. Honestly, most neighbors just tried to avoid her. I never thought much about her or her HOA until the day I got that letter. It wasn't just a casual note. It was a formal demand for payment and a warning about legal consequences if I didn't comply. That's when I realized she was seriously trying to pull me into something I had no part in. I didn't live in her neighborhood, I didn't agree to any HOA rules, and I hadn't even signed any documents. So how could she expect me to pay her fees? I started asking around, trying to get a sense of how this HOA actually worked. What I discovered was surprising. The HOA wasn't officially registered in the way it should have been. There were missing documents, no clear bylaws, and even some neighbors who claimed they'd never agreed to be part of it. It felt like Karen was just making things up as she went along, using the HOA as a way to control people and maybe make some money on the side. When I mentioned this to a few people, I realized I wasn't the only one who felt trapped or confused by her actions. But I had no idea how deep the mess went until the day we faced the judge. And even after the HOA got dissolved, I could tell this wasn't the end. There were still questions left hanging, and Karen seemed far from done. What would she do next? That's the real mystery. After the judge dissolved the HOA, you'd think things would calm down, right? But no, that was just the beginning. Karen wasn't someone to back off easily. In fact, her reaction only made things more complicated. She started telling anyone who would listen that the court had made a mistake, and that the HOA was still very much alive and kicking. She even hinted at appealing the decision, which meant this fight wasn't going anywhere soon. Meanwhile, I started hearing from neighbors who were caught in similar situations. Some were getting letters from Karen demanding payments for fees they never agreed to. Others said she was trying to enforce rules on people who lived outside her HOA boundaries. It felt like she was using the HOA as a tool for control, not community. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was a bigger issue affecting multiple people at the same time. There was another layer to this whole story that I hadn't expected. I found out that Karen had been involved in some questionable property deals around the neighborhood. Rumors were flying that she might be trying to use the HOA to pressure homeowners into selling their properties or paying extra fees. I couldn't verify everything yet, but it made me wonder how much power one person could really hold when no one was watching closely. Then there was the local city council, which suddenly got interested. Some officials started asking questions about how the HOA was operating and whether any laws had been broken. That added a new twist, because now it wasn't just a private fight, it was potentially a legal and political problem. I felt like I was stuck in the middle of a mess that was way bigger than just a bad HOA president. Even as I tried to keep my distance, Karen kept pushing, sending more notices and making more threats. The tension was building, and I knew that whatever happened next could change everything. But I still didn't know how deep this conflict went and what it might cost me to stand my ground as the days went on. The pressure kept mounting. Karen's emails and letters didn't stop. They kept coming, each one more aggressive than the last. She was insisting I pay fees, threatening more legal action, and claiming the judge's ruling was somehow invalid. I could tell she wasn't going to let this go quietly. At the same time, I was hearing from more neighbors who were feeling the weight of her demands. It was clear Karen's tactics were working to scare people into submission even when they had no legal standing. What made it worse was the constant uncertainty. Was the HOA truly dissolved? Or was there some loophole Karen was banking on? Could she really bring this back to court? The thought of going through another battle was exhausting. Every day felt like walking on thin ice, not knowing when or how Karen would strike next. Then came the city council's involvement. Officials were asking questions, and it seemed like a formal investigation was underway. Suddenly, the conflict wasn't just personal. It had escalated to a community-wide issue. People were paying attention now, and that made Karen even more defensive and unpredictable. I started wondering if she would dig in her heels or back down once she realized the stakes were higher than just one person refusing to pay fees. On top of that, the rumors about Karen's shady property deals kept swirling. It felt like there was a hidden agenda behind all this, something bigger than just an HOA dispute. Maybe she was trying to force people out or grab control of more property in the area. The thought made my skin crawl, but without solid proof. It was hard to say anything for sure. I found myself caught in the middle of a storm that was only growing stronger. Every message from Karen brought a new wave of tension. Every phone call from neighbors added another layer to the mystery. I knew the next step could change everything, but I had no idea what it would be or how it would end. The moment of truth was coming, and I wasn't sure if I was ready. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more intense, a new twist hit me like a lightning bolt. Out of nowhere, I received an anonymous message with documents proving that Karen had secretly tried to register the HOA under a different name, one that included properties far beyond her original neighborhood. It was like she was trying to expand her control without anyone noticing. These papers showed her attempting to force homeowners who had no connection to the original HOA into this new one, demanding fees and threatening lawsuits just like she did with me. This wasn't just about one bad HOA president anymore. It was turning into a full-blown scheme. Suddenly, the stakes were higher than I ever imagined. If Karen succeeded, she could basically claim power over large chunks of the community, making it almost impossible for people to fight back. It felt like a takeover under the radar, and I was smack in the middle of it. At the same time, the city council's investigation was uncovering more irregularities. Some officials privately told me that Karen's actions might go beyond just HOA mismanagement. They were looking into possible fraud and misuse of funds tied to her property deals. That explained why she was so desperate to keep the HOA alive, even after the judge dissolved it. This wasn't just a petty power play, was potentially criminal. I couldn't shake the feeling that Karen was watching my every move. Her constant threats felt less like empty words and more like warnings. The pressure was unbearable. I had to figure out how to protect myself and my neighbors. Before she could cause even more damage, the situation was spiraling out of control. The question was no longer if Karen would fight back, was how far she was willing to go. And with everything at risk, I knew the showdown was coming soon. But what would it look like? And who would come out on top? The answers were still out there, waiting to be uncovered. You won't believe what happened the day I was quietly working in my cabin office. I thought it was going to be just another normal afternoon, just me, my plans, and a little peace and quiet. But then, out of nowhere, HOA Karen stormed in like a thundercloud ready to blow everything apart. If you've ever dealt with an HOA or someone who takes their rules a little too seriously, you know exactly the kind of drama I'm talking about. But this time, it wasn't just a simple complaint or a warning notice. No, this was something way bigger, and honestly, it caught me completely off guard. What made this whole situation even crazier is what I was working on inside that cabin. I wasn't just messing around or doing something small, I was planning something serious with a 4-star general. Yeah, you heard that right. A high-ranking military official, someone with years of experience and major responsibility. We were plotting out ideas that could change everything, but it all had to stay under wraps. So imagine my shock when HOA Karen just bursts in and freezes, literally. Like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. This wasn't just a clash over lawn decorations or parking spaces. This was a collision of worlds, a strange mix of everyday neighborhood rules and high-level strategy. And from the look on Karen's face, I knew this was just the start of something much bigger. There was tension in the air, and it felt like the calm before a storm. I'm about to take you through exactly what went down that day, step by step. But trust me, this story doesn't end here. There's more to come, and it's going to get even more intense. So stick around, because you won't want to miss what happens next. The moment HOA Karen stood frozen in my cabin office. It wasn't just surprise on her face, it was disbelief mixed with something like fear. But to understand why, you've got to know a little more about how all this started. See, this cabin isn't just some random spot for me to work. It's where I've been putting together plans that are bigger than anything most people around here could imagine. It's a place where ideas meet strategy, and where I've been quietly connecting with a 4-star general who's been guiding me through every step. You might wonder why someone like me, just a regular person living in a quiet neighborhood, would be planning anything with a top-ranking military officer. That's exactly what made this situation so strange and dangerous. Our plans aren't about warfare or anything like that. It's about change, about shaking up the system in a way that could impact a lot of people. And it's something that certain folks around here wouldn't want to see happen, not Karen. For sure, Karen, the HOA's self-appointed watchdog, has always been the kind of person who thrives on control. She's the type to call out every little rule break, who monitors every detail like a hawk. But until that day, I never thought she'd be involved in anything beyond parking disputes and grass height measurements. Seeing her like that, frozen and speechless, showed me that this was different. She wasn't just an annoying neighbor anymore. She was part of a bigger puzzle, one I hadn't fully put together yet. What's more, the tension in the cabin wasn't just between Karen and me. There was a weight hanging in the air, like something bigger was about to explode. Every time I glanced at the plans spread across the table, I felt the pressure building. Karen's sudden arrival wasn't a coincidence. Something had triggered her, and whatever it was, it meant trouble was coming. But for now, All I could do was wait and wonder what her next move would be.